Good day everyone, I'm Ruela Amar Claribel, and for today, I will be going to discuss to you about the geological works of winds and seas. What is work of wind? The movement of the atmosphere in a parallel direction to the Earth's surface is the wind. We all know that wind is the living air, and the geological function of this is it is an agent of change of landform formation, sweeping over the solid surfaces of the land areas. And there are three geological activities or functions of work of wind, which are as follows. First is the erosion. It takes solids, rocks, or dissolved elements from the Earth's crust. This process lowers the ground surfaces and makes the ground surface get lower and rockier. And there are at least two different methods that wind perform the work of erosion. First is the deflation. It is merely the removal of loose and thus small particles by a strong wind. This is where the lifting and transport of lighter particles from a dry soil, leaving behind a surface of coarse-grained sand and rocks. Next is the wind abrasion. It is the process of erosion caused by the impact of dispersed particles on solid surfaces, like as wind-blown grains of sand. It carried along at high speed are very effective tool that can sandblast away rocks by abrasion. The next function of work of wind is transportation, a process in which wind transports or moves particles to different places. Wind more easily picks up particles on ground that has been disturbed, such as construction site. Transportation by wind can be divided into two parts, the bed load and suspended load. The bed load is made up heavier particles that are carried by the wind but are not lifted more than 30 to 60 kilometers above the Earth's surface. It is a specific form of sediment transport which involves coarse particles such as ground or gravel rolling along the stream bed. What is sediment transport? Transport is the movement of organic and inorganic particles by water, while the suspended load is made up of dust particles that are carried hundreds of meters above Earth's surface by blowing winds. Additionally, it refers to the part of the total sediment transport which is maintained in suspension by turbulence in the flowing water. The last function of the work of wind is the deposition. If the wind comes into contact with an obstruction, its velocity automatically decreases, causing in the deposition of carried sands. There is a structure that classified in deposition. It is the sand dunes. Sand dunes are massive sand hills created by natural deposition of wind-blown sand which can have distinct feature and recognized forms. There are active dunes can be divided into three types. The barkhans or crescent-shaped dunes. This dune looks like crescent-shaped sand is formed by the act of wind from a single direction. Second is the transverse dunes. It contains a windward side that is moderately sloping and a leeward side that is steeply sloping. They often occur in places with little vegetative cover and a lot of sun. Next is the longitudinal dunes. This is often symmetrical in cross-sections. They usually form behind in a obstruction when there is a lot of sun and the wind is strong. Geological work of sea. The expanse of salt water that covers most of the Earth's surface and surrounds its land masses. Seawater, like other geological processes, serves as an agency of erosion, transportation, and deposition. But since salt water is restricted within boundaries and widely standing in nature as compared to rivers, which flow downwards, the process of geological works of the sea differs in detail from the river, and all of the geological work done by marine water is caused by regular and irregular disruptions in the water course. The three functions of geological work of seas are: first is the erosion. In a way comparable to that of stream water, marine water erodes the rocks near the coast and everywhere in which it gets into contact. Erosion occurs through three processes: the hydraulic action, abrasion, and solution. Hydraulic action is the force of moving water. This is the function of water erosion that involves breaking pieces of rock from their original placements due to the strong pressure generated by the force of sea waves and currents. So what is waves and currents? Waves are created by the wind and then radiate in all directions away from the disturbance. Currents represents the movement of water particles which is controlled by winds and density of differences. Second is the abrasion. This entails the grinding action of salt water on the rocks of the sea. It is also with assistance of sand grains and other tiny pieces that are hurled up against the rocks. Third is the solution. It is the solvent effect of salt water that is particularly strong in environments where the sea is chemically susceptible. Headlands, bays, sea cliffs, and wave-cut terraces are all typical characteristics of marine erosion. Headlands and bays, these softer rocks erode quickly and easily in an initially equal slope comprised of materials of varying hardness. The bays are formed when seawater enters the inland areas established along the beach. Next is the sea cliffs. It is a seaward-facing high front of a fairly high coastline that represents the initial stage of wave action on the beach rocks. Next, wave-cut terraces. The approaching sea waves cut out a shallow shelf-like structure from the beach rocks. The second function of the work of sea is transportation. It is the movement of sediments down the shoreline. So how does the sea transport the material? First is the traction. It is the geological process through which a sea carries larger, heavy rocks by sliding it along the bottom. Next is saltation. The seabed is littered with tiny and lighter stones and pebbles. It is a specific type of particles transport by fluids such as wind. It occurs when loose materials are removed from a bed and carried by the fluid, before being transported back to the surface. Examples of these are beaches, tombolo, and splits and bars. Deep water deposits. These deposits consist mostly of mud and oozes. Example of this is the coral reefs. So, I hope that we can now understand the functions and the definitions of geological works of wind and seas. And now, I'm going to discuss to you the significance of the work of wind and seas. Why are the winds important? We all know that wind is a renewable source of energy and environmental friendly. And wind energy does not release hazardous chemicals or pollutants into the atmosphere which may be harmful to both the environment and humans. Wind energy does not also produce contaminated water, which necessary is considering the shortage of water. Moreover, the benefits of wind energy are much more prominent than the disadvantage. The primary benefits are a limitless, free, renewable energy and wind harvesting facility site. Wind energy provides the most benefits in terms of the environment and economics. It does, however, there are some disadvantages that should be considered. Example of this is the wind is inconsistent. Although wind energy is natural resource, wind speeds vary throughout the day. Why are the seas important? The sea controls our climate in a variety of ways. It absorbs heat and moves warm water from the equator toward the poles. Without these currents, certain locations' weather will be severe and many areas will be livable. The sea is not only home to sea lovers, but also the greatest diversity of species in our world. It is also help us to breathe because plants that live in the sea are also responsible for the at least 50% of the oxygen on Earth. That is what we see on the surface. There is more life under the surface of the ocean than it is on the ground. We must maintain and conserve a healthy marine environment to promote sustainable development, because all life on Earth, even us humans, relies on the sea. To sum it all up, wind and seas are significant in many ways. Without the wind, the Earth becomes a land of extremes. Furthermore, it will disrupt the movement of both cold and hot throughout our Earth. Additionally, the ecosystem will alter and other parts of the ecosystem will vanish. So I hope you learned something about from my topic, and thank you.